my first thoughts were that, like, these, things happen all over the world, but it doesn't happen in our backyard. It doesn't happen on Moreton Island, but it did. And I guess my first thought was that what's the wildlife going to do in this area? I mean, there were turtle eggs, there were birds. The second thing I guess I thought was what my personal feelings were, because, I come over to the ocean beach at least twice a week. I love fishing over this area. I love using the beach. And I guess the third thing that I thought was, honestly, is there's a pretty massive oil spill on Moreton Island. What's going to be the financial impact for Tangalooma Resort?
I love working for a family-owned company. I love that I've worked there for 8.5 years and I still get over there and it just takes my breath away. I love the dolphins. I love all our activities, and I guess I love working with people from all over the world.
It's just a beautiful location to have the wildlife and to be so close to nature.
And also, like, I love the self-sufficiency of Moreton Island. There's no services at all on Moreton Island. So here at our house at Cowan, we have to do everything. We have to catch our own rainwater, pump water from bores, create our own electricity. Anything that breaks down, you have to fix. There's no mechanic on the island. I love that independency and basically isolation. It's kind of like a suburb of Brisbane, but it's still a remote area.
One of our main attractions is dolphin feeding. So we've got a pot of wild dolphins that come in every night and are hand-fed by our resort guests and our staff. We've got a Tangalooma Marine Education and Conservation Centre. So we're very proactive, I guess, in offering a nature-based experience.
I had a call from National Parks and Wildlife, and they basically let us know that there was a pretty bad oil spill over on the ocean beach. Shortly after, I had a call from Channel 7 saying that they were flying over it and it was quite a substantial spill. I shot over in my four-wheel drive and was just absolutely blown away. The oil actually covered the beach just north of the middle road all the way right through to the Cape, where you've got a 100-metre wide beach. It was completely covered with oil. But when I first came to this area, the whole beach was black, and it was just not the visual impact. The smell and the stench of the oil was like a turpentine kerosene smell, and you could actually even smell it as you're coming through the track before you even got to the beach. There was absolutely no possible chance of the oil getting into Moreton Bay without a complete weather change, where the media were actually advertising worldwide that, a little picture of Moreton Island with a big ring around it, oil, spill area, including the Sunshine Coast. And the poor marketing department were dealing with our Chinese inbound operators cancelling hundreds of people.
You could tell so much by just the amount of phone calls that we were having on a daily basis for quite a long time. Guests coming into the resort that were just worried about their holiday at Tangalooma. They thought they weren't even going to be able to stick their toe in the water because there was going to be oil. And it made international news. We were on the front page of the Hindi. The photo of the ocean beach covered in oil was on the front page of the Hindi. So, that was just one thing that we had to look at and go, right, there is potential damage here for a long time in the international markets. Tangalooma didn't stop operating at all. Within the first few months after the oil spill, we catered for a lot of the workers that were up to hundreds a day that were based over here.
All of our operational facilities, like buses and boat seats and all that sort of stuff, were all drafted into getting the oil workers over and housed on Moreton Island. All of our resources were actually quite stretched, and I guess what guests didn't cancel because they knew that Moreton Island was covered in oil when it really wasn't. Not in our area anyway. Basically all of those bookings were actually taken up by all of the oil workers. So that was one good sense. The bad sense was all of the things like water sports and all of those sort of areas really operationally suffered at the resort because the oil workers were there to do a job, not to have a holiday. It did really affect us financially. It affected our staff that work in those areas because we had to lay them off or reduce their hours dramatically. But at the end of the day, we tried to basically shift everyone around so that they weren't unemployed or they were still doing hours, and that basically we sort of traded through it.
We knew that we had to get on pretty quickly to the international market, so the sales team got on planes, went over to their markets, met with their clients and said face to face, guys, we're okay, we're doing okay.
We actually even paid for some of those larger inbound operators in the Asian region to come and have a free holiday at Tangalooma, and it took those sort of steps to convince our major inbound marketers to basically understand that Tangalooma was unaffected.
Over 50% of our market is Southeast Queensland drive market, so to recover that, I guess it was through social media straight away, getting the word out for mills with travel agents, just helping them filter, I guess, trying to get everyone to help spread the word. The Director of Sales and myself and the other directors worked quite closely in what other campaigns we could put on offer, what specials we could get out there and how we could get it out quickly. Brisbane Marketing getting on board straight away with their Donate a Day to the Bay campaign helped us a lot. But also, I guess, being a family-owned company and no really strict advertising budget, we were able to inject more funds into advertising and get that exposure out there that just more that we were okay and open for business. We were really lucky. The rest of 2009, we had really a very successful year.
I think that people were ringing up and they had some feeling even of supporting a business that was in trouble.
Any advice I've got to give is just make sure you've got those social media pages happening. Facebook and Twitter, I mean, it's just so important to have them these days. Just that alone just helped us so much get the word out.
This is my 20th year at Tangalooma, and whether it's a bushfire, a flood, an oil spill, a missing person, or some sort of other emergency, I've got to basically understand that all of these problems can be solved. It's basically quite easy to solve them. Just think with your head and basically think positively, and just simply work through it. Nothing's too hard.